Apple TV Plus continues its strings of shows beginning with the letter S. Shining Girl stars Elisabeth Moss, and this time it's a murder mystery with a twisted and intriguing sci-fi angle. So should this one be in your queue? Years after a brutal attack left her in a constantly shifting reality, Kirby learns that a recent murder is linked to her assault. She then teams with a veteran reporter to understand her ever-changing present and confront her past. So like I said, Elisabeth Moss stars in this, and she is amazing as an unwitting, unreliable narrator. Now, she's not unreliable because of her own volition, but something that's happening around her and to her that makes it difficult to understand and believe what she experiences. She has to keep a notebook with her to keep track of things like her pet's name, who a certain person is, and what the relationship is to her, or maybe even what apartment she lives in. At first it seems a bit odd, like she's just having some memory issues, and maybe she is, but we're also shown things through the imagery of the show that it may not totally be just her memory that's wonky. Jamie Bell also stars in this, and he is mysterious and creepy, and while we can suspect a lot, there's nothing concrete that's been shown yet. He has this air of confidence that is unsettling, disturbing us just as much as he's disturbed. And he gives us small clues as to what he's doing or able to do, but the why and the how is still an utter mystery. He's patient, quiet, even charismatic, which makes his character of Harper even more sinister. Kirby teams up with a reporter named Dan at the newspaper that she works at, and he's played by Wagner Moura. Now, I love how he's naturally inquisitive, as reporters tend to be, but he's also wildly skeptical, again, as many reporters tend to be. I also love his compassion that comes through. Now, that's not to say that he's not driven, impatient, or he doesn't even get upset, but in his frustrating conversations with Kirby, he's still able to show a great amount of empathy towards her. And I also like that he himself is a bit of an unreliable narrator. He's got stuff in his past that's mostly just hinted at, or maybe briefly mentioned, but we also get to see some behaviors that do allow us to question his judgment. And because of his family situation, there are some really huge opportunities for stress and discomfort, which the show then plays up well. Now, there are a couple of smaller characters within the story. Well, I mean, smaller at least for now. We're played by Philippa Sue and Chris Chalk. Now, in these first 3 episodes, we get a lot more from Chalk, and I really like him as a character. Because of his relationships, I really want to see more with him to just understand the larger impact that he's going to have on the story. But for now, his empathy and compassion, I think, are wonderful to watch. Philippa Sue has just had a few small scenes so far. And while one was like, oh crap, another was like, huh? WTF? Which is then where many of these scenes ultimately lead as the episodes go along. Now, I mentioned that there is a sci-fi angle here, and the show messes with space and time, but in ways that are only just briefly touched upon so far. Now, the timeline is really screwy, which I am enjoying, but it's messing with my head something terrible. Events play out, and then later we watch them from a different perspective, or maybe even a different point in time. Now, it's a great method of storytelling that's then filled with mystery and suspense. And I love that Apple released the first 3 episodes together, which then really helped me to get hooked. Now, the first episode did grab my attention, but now since I was able to watch close to 3 hours of the content, I'm very invested and I'm completely sucked into whatever is going on. Now, I do have theories, which I'm sure you'll also form, but I especially love that I'm only making guesses at this point. I mean, I don't think we've even been given enough information to put down a concrete hypothesis, which I love since the show is just beginning. This is a great looking series so far. While we get some scenes of sunlight, the majority of the show has this ominous and even oppressive feel to it. And I think a lot of that oppressiveness comes from Kirby and how she just carries herself. She's going through life traumatized and in terror, and because of what we learn, I mean, you can't blame her at all. But that is also what puts the fire in her to help her work the mystery angle, so it does feel organic. There's some effective camera work to create some transitions in this so that the feeling of shifting realities works convincingly. And there's also some wonderful editing that creates a harried and stressful pace to a few scenes. But the situations are meant to be stressful and then building with anxiety, so the editing is perfect. In one particular scene, Kirby and Dan are sifting through just a ton of photos, and the photos and perspectives are changing at an increasing rate, which is then right in time with the music, making it for a very balanced but intense viewing experience. Now, I love the puzzle that has been laid out for us as an audience. I mean, it's pretty engaging and mysterious, with only the slightest of teases as to what, why, and then how everything is happening. The acting is incredibly convincing, especially for Moss, who has crafted a character that is sympathetic, but also very frustrating. I'm really enjoying how I want to trust what she sees and experiences, but I'm not sure I absolutely can, even though other situations certainly lean towards her being right on track. The show is gritty enough to be dark and ominous, but not so much that I leave the episodes depressed or in need of a shower. I become very sucked into the drama and the intrigue, which the editing and pacing are hugely complementing the acting. And while I may not know where I'm going in this series, I'm definitely here for the ride. There's no sex, some brief but non sexual nudity, lots of profanity, and some gruesome images of violence. So I'm going to hold off on giving this a score until the finale, but please do know this is something that most certainly should be on your watch list, especially if you enjoy crime dramas, murder mysteries, or even subtle sci fi. So, what's something you're binging right now? Let me know in the comments below. If you enjoyed this review, please give it a like. Also, don't forget to share and subscribe. I'm Chris. This is Movies and Munchies. Thanks for couching with me.